are surrounded in their base, so.
Oh, look at that nade.
Oh, hot dog goes down.
Look at that nade. Legacy comes in to sweep the kills. Are you kidding me? 23-24, Cats are in the lead. Welcome to the USL Live podcast for Season 24, Week 4. I'm your host, Romulocks, and this show is a weekly podcast where we revisit the results from the previous week, discuss the upcoming matches, and try and predict the winners and how that will impact the rest of the season. Joining me to discuss all that and more, I am honored to welcome into the broadcast booth my co-host for this evening. First up, we have Mecca.
Howdy.
We have Yosh.
Ni hao.
Splittah.
How's it going?
Bowen.
What up?
And Eric.
Fuck you, Split.
It is a full boat tonight, guys. For more information on the Unified Skirmish League, including schedule, rosters, and how you can be a part of this league, please visit uslzone.com. Guys, first I want to go through the matches from Week 3 as we are currently at the midpoint of the season, but I want to take a look at the standings to start it off. In first place right now, we have D-Generation X, who is 5-0 on the season. In second place, we have a tie between New World Order and Cats, both 3-2 on the season. In fourth place, we have Suicide Squad, 2-3 on the season. And then in fifth place, we also have another tie, Nexus and Crusaders, both 1-4 on the season. So let me start by going around the table with the panel and each of you. What are your overall impressions following the results from Week 3? And discuss the standings right now as we enter the second half of Season 24. Start us off, Mecca.
Yeah, I think as far as the standings go, this is exactly the order I predicted, so I'm not shocked there. I think there's two big shocks, I guess, was Nexus beating Suicide Squad, which I don't think anybody had. And then Cats almost dropping to Crusaders was pretty huge, too. Obviously, that would have shaken up the standings completely. I don't know how Suicide Squad lost. I watched it over and over again, and Chompy just destroyed people, and then the center personal met on Chompy and then Stoink there too, and then Draco had a couple good solo flanks and a couple of the battles as well. I think you put all that together, and I don't think Suicide Squad took them seriously, and I think that was the worst mistake they made, is they thought they could just roll up on Nexus like they have in the past and just destroy them with not very good players, and it just didn't work. I think you saw Victim demo was just not working. Fresh looked like the worst player in the league as medic. And I think they just kind of got exposed and they were overconfident. That's why Nexus was able to take the win.
Yeah, I think a lot of this came down to nobody expected Fausto to camp the way that he did near that base. Right? That first match kind of set the tempo for everything else in the night, because we just saw for that map, the left side being camped right around that bottom or top area and shifting in between the two. So, I mean, Nexus did what they needed to do to get the W. So, huge upset for those guys. They have another chance this week coming up on KR to make it happen again.
Anything surprising about the standings for you, though, as it is?
Nah. I mean, it's kind of how I thought it would shake out, like Mecca was saying.
Okay. Split, talk about the standings and the upsets in Week 3.
Yeah, I thought last week was probably one of the most craziest turnouts I've ever seen. And that's across the board. I thought every single game was kind of a surprise. We just didn't know how it would play out. In retrospect, I was kind of talking about my squad earlier, or yesterday rather, and I was thinking about how that played out and how it was even possible. The best way to put it is I think it's because of that map. It's just hard to break camps, and I think because a lot of people are just as familiar with it. Some players are, of course, that played SL, etc. too. But when it came to USL, it's very interesting because during the practice SBs, we didn't really see many people camp, even including ourselves. So we didn't really see the campingness, I guess you would want to call it, about that map. But overall, as for it's kind of similar to where I would see it. And honestly, towards the end of the season, I think it will probably be, go back to square one, what we thought, which would have been DX, Cats, New World Order, and Suicide Squad as the top 4.
Okay. Bowen?
Standing wise, it's, as Ryan's kind of said, it's kind of where has been called. How it got there may be a little weird, but it's there. Everybody kind of expected Nexus to go 1-1 with Crusaders, and that's still a possibility, obviously. But they've so far potentially gone 1-0 against Suicide Squad. So, it's going to be interesting to see how that map plays out on week 6. I think when the squads are able to switch and see, if it's the camps that are hard to break, if it's the respawns that are hard to break, it's a little bit of a couple of things that happen there that make it seem odd because bottom left seemed like the harder side, but then Cats was pushing into the right from the left, and Crusaders almost won the match because of it. So coming from the right side, so I don't know. I mean, it's gonna be interesting to, like I said, see week 6.
What about the standings? Anything surprising you about the shakeout?
No.
Okay.
Nah, I mean, like I said, it's what we kind of expected. So just how we got there is kind of strange.
Okay, Eric.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everybody else. The standings are what we all expected, right? I did expect Cats over New World Order, and that could still possibly happen. I believe New World Order has that tiebreaker at the moment. But it's really been a Jekyll and Hyde season in terms of everybody's play, all squads included. Obviously, Nexus upsetting Suicide Squad. I think Mecca said it best. I don't think Suicide Squad necessarily took them serious to begin with, and I didn't approve of their lineup against Nexus, and Chompy just showed out, right? So it'll be interesting to see if everybody can kind of stabilize going into the second half of the season.
Yeah, I don't disagree with any of you, so let's go ahead and move on. We've done it a little bit already, but I want to just move straight into the week 3 games. These, again, were played on Outpost Delta. There's a question of how much that map influenced the results of these games, but our first game of the night was a big one. Nexus defeated Suicide Squad 51-20. Your MVP was the Great Chompy.
Yeah, besides what's already been said, I think, besides them not taking them seriously, the subs were the completely wrong people. You needed to switch Victim to Med. You needed to sub Fresh out. I don't think you bring Ghost Bomber in as well. I think Apollo was a good sub. He ended up doing pretty well. But I don't think Mites and Flow were the problem in that match. So I think that also contributed to it. And then, once you get a rhythm and you're on Nexus and you get a little confidence, Chompy's not missing bullets. You have some good ambushes. Your medics are playing well. I actually PM'd the center after I watched the video, and I said I think that's the best game he's ever played in USL, and I don't think I'm exaggerating. So once everything's firing on all cylinders, SV gets a little nervous. He wants to win the game. He's doing some subs. He makes the wrong subs, and it kind of just spirals down from there. And I think that's why you saw the 51-20. Even for an upset, usually an upset, this guy, NWO almost beat DX in what's called an upset. And because we won by 2 or 7, but they would have won by 1 or 2. That's an upset. But to win by 31 against a squad that should have taken care of business, I think that's why people were being sensationalist about saying, hey, this could be one of the bigger upsets in USL history. And I think because of that the kill death margin of 31, I think that's why it should be considered. And I don't think Nexus's roster is that much worse than Suicide Squad, but to beat them by 31, I think is the real talk here.
Yeah, I mean, beating them by that margin is nutty because this is not the way I expected this match to play out at all, right? And it sucked because this is the first time we've seen Outpost Delta without the flags, and everybody all week had been practicing on it. And what have they been doing? Everybody's been fighting under that south rock, or that south building rather, right? People changed that up and said, you know what? I'm just going to camp my base and come break it if you can. And I think that really played into the factor of a lot of teams don't know how to play when they're the side that has to break a camp, right? Like, we're used to it. My squad in particular is very used to it. You got squads like, Pister or especially SV. Those guys aren't used to doing that. They're used to camping it up, and they didn't know how to break the camps. So good on Fausto for changing up the leadership style, not trying to fight them straight up, and, doing what it took to get the W.
Yeah, I mean... Oh, go ahead, Split. I'm sorry. I'm after you.
You're good. I was just kind of in retrospect of this whole weekend. Yeah, it was a crazy weekend, and obviously, I mean, no doubt about it, the map had a huge part to play. I did notice for Nexus's case that they've been gradually improving, like week after week. I mean, it wasn't like a surprise when they had the lead on us in the beginning. They had the lead on ATW in the beginning. They've definitely have improved, and then you add in the factor of this map that like we were saying earlier that nobody actually had practiced, in regards to stopping a camp. In this situation, there was no, and I think, well, we'll get into the other matches, but yeah, we've seen a lot of different attempts on trying to break some of these caps, and it's very difficult because of the spacing, I think. But with that being said, yeah, Nexus was phenomenal overall, and I think that this is going to kind of lead into them playing better and finding their actual spot in the season.
Yeah, so sorry, now I'll jump in there. My bad on that a minute ago split. But so I mean, I've said a lot of what I've already needed to say. Like, I thought it was kind of funny. Like, Fausto hasn't seen the SBs we had last week, and he started with the exact same play that I had kind of started figuring out towards the end of last week, where it's 3-men rush into the bottom H building and hold the lockers, and then everybody else kind of get vision around it, and then you just have an angle wherever they come in. So it was kind of just entertaining for me. Also wanted to point out that SV said we were going to be quote unquote a stat pad in the preview show, and it almost turned into the other way around. So gonna get my chance to get a little shit talk in on that one, and we'll move on from there. So, but Chompy, best player, good in the league in the near future, and he's going to be a monster next season and this season.
Yeah, can I add one more thing? Chompy, yeah, his play was incredible. He didn't seem like he was missing any bullets either. And I would actually say, as I mean, I said it before too, that he definitely, I think at this point, has the number one of all time season as a new beginner. Like, I don't think anybody topped this.
Eric?
Yeah, no, I mean, I was saying it in the broadcast booth, but this was by far Nexus's best lineup. You keep DP in spec, and you kept Rom with Chompy and Stoink, who are your main aggressors, right? The CTFers together, and like Split and everybody else said, Chompy just moused them down. Again, this was by far his best game. Obviously, going 18-5, and I don't know if like Mecca said, Bowen said that Mountain said that it would be a stat pad for him. I don't think they respected Chompy's aim, because there was one fight in particular where he almost took out the entire team by himself after everybody had died. He killed SV, he killed Victim, and he almost got Apollo, and they were the last two standing. So big game for him. I'm excited to see how much he improves over the season, and yeah, Nexus just shut Suicide Squad down.
I don't just everybody's saying the right things here. I think everybody on Nexus did their job. That was the idea, to go out and do exactly what we did. That was the game plan. I noticed a lot of people were saying, even Yosh were saying, like, during the broadcast, do they have any more plays? None of what we did was scripted whatsoever. I think Fausto did a great job of just putting us in the right places. We knew generally what our idea was in terms of how we wanted to run it, particularly with the main squad and the flank squad. But as far as where we were going to be, that was just reactionary. I was surprised by the way Suicide Squad came out. I know they thought it was going to be a stat pad game, but to a certain degree, I think there needs to be a little more respect given on the other side of the V there. Yes, we had some difficulty coming together and gelling. We didn't practice at all in the off season, but I do agree with what Split is saying as well. There's been steady progression week to week. And I think everybody's seen that. And by week 3, I definitely think you need to come with a better game plan than just rush right at us. And Chompy, man, it's kind of funny. I think my job on the squad right now, being assigned to Chompy and Stoink, is basically like the kindergartner leash. It's just attached to them. Don't let them go too far ahead of you, and stay with them, and do not let those guys die. Specifically, Chompy. And I'm doing the best I can at it. And I think you kind of saw the results of it. So Suicide Squad had a huge bounce back, which we'll get to in just a little bit. So I think their week is a very interesting one to talk about. But I am really glad for this week for Nexus. This is what we wanted to do. We finally executed a game plan. And Chompy in the post game interview said it. He was just, it was interesting to see all the pieces come together and fall into place for once. It gives us excitement for moving on in the future weeks. That's for sure. Let's talk about game number 2 for the week. That would be Degeneration X defeats New World Order 26-21. Your MVP is Nosekeeper.
Yeah, I think this game was a little bit closer than Sav would have wanted it, obviously. But that map with the respawns, even with the delayed respawns, you can get feed. So if you're on the bottom left, you can just get your respawns right away. So even if you get kill, they're right there. And it's so hard to flank the bottom left because the dropship is right there. I saw our classes. We had an ATA and a nader, which makes it a little bit harder to push. If we had a little bit more range, I think we would have won that game by quite a bit. But the last 5 minutes of that game was exhilarating. NWO goes up, and then we get all those kills, and then just run away. So it's good to see close games when people are I think a lot of people probably had this 20 or 30 kill game. So it's nice to see them at 7, even if they are camping. But yeah, I think this just goes to the criticism of the map. Like I said, I think you saw a lot of games here. I'm not sure it works for USL.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the whole thing of this season. All the maps are pretty bad, to be fair. I don't think anybody would argue KR is a fair map. Nobody's going to argue Outpost Delta is a fair map, right? Like, the map selection is horrible. So, but no, these guys played well. I mean, we kind of expected they would camp us. Pister said he was going to camp us, so we kind of went into the game knowing what he was going to do. They almost executed it, pulled it off. Good job on them.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of, first already stated we're going to probably camp in the beginning and see how it plays out. We didn't really know about how we're going to play or position ourselves, to be quite honest about it. Again, a testament to how easy it is to camp on that map. Doesn't seem like there's a bad side to actually hold. But with that being said, that south position was, in my opinion, very hard to break. But yes, give it up to Sav. Putting Nosekeeper in as nader definitely changed the dynamic of that game very easily. As soon as he came in, he broke that south cap with the mortar. And with that being said, I mean, things like that actually definitely it was a kind of like a wild card, I guess you would say, that we were not actually expecting. And in the end, it was a good game, even though I didn't really like the camping situation. But overall, that's what it is. And I definitely did think it could have went either way in that game as well.
Yeah, it was interesting seeing, like, because Yosh wasn't doing bad when he came out either. Like, he was on the scoreboard even. Like, it was a pretty even split actually across the kill margins. But doing Nasen as a nader, like, initially I was like, man, they're already having problems with range. Like, why are we? They're not gonna be able to break that hold. And at first, even watching it, I was like, man, they just can't break it. And I looked at it again, and Nas went 5-1. I'm just like, oh, he was killing people going in. So it was deceptively hard to get to notice how good Nas was actually getting up and kind of disrupting that front line a little bit, just enough to where it created a little bubble, and DX was able to kind of push through right at the last minute there to get that 28-21 finish. So I mean, great game, and the play was right by NWO. It's again, I'm curious to see what happens in week 6 when the sides flip. This is one of those that could be interesting to watch on that front.
Well, I have one thing to say. Everyone's like, Sav told Nas to go nader. Nas was in the game, got unspec'd because I had 0 ammo, and he's like, "Oh, I'm nader," and everyone's like, "All right, sure, let's just let it play out." This was not something that was planned. It was just, hey,
we think you're playing 4D chess and you're over here just unspecking whatever the random class is.
Yeah.
Yosh stealing my fucking thunder. I was about to bring that up when it was my turn, and here you go interjecting. You motherfucker.
My bad. I just couldn't hold it anymore.
But yeah, there's a few things I'd like to call out about this match. First off, fuck Sav for coaching Pisser how to counter my solo flanks. That's why Leech and somebody else was always coming to help him when I was going around as AT. Secondly, I don't think Yosh should have subbed himself out. I get that he had no ammo. I think Typhoon was the sub. I don't think Typhoon played well that game at all. And a lot of us were kind of trolling Sav. To be honest, I don't think we had a good game. And then we cleaned it up towards the end and were able to make that final push. Plumber Splittah made reared his ugly head going 2-4 as a overpowered LNG class. I mean, he's got to do better being on the main team and focus firing. But on that, the result was expected, just not how we got there in the score exactly.
Yeah, I generally agree with you, Eric. I think this was a not the best game for Degeneration X for sure. For New World Order is probably the best game, the better of the two games of the night. But I don't think anybody particularly had an amazing game. It was interesting to see NWO employ the exact same strategy that Nexus used. Only I think you guys might have hunkered down in the Southwest corridor even more than we did. And the way you set it up too was almost identical to us. So it was interesting to watch it happen again and see how DGX could break it open. We Bowen and I talked a lot during the game about how Eric's AT was an interesting choice. We probably would have gone with Marine just because I think the ability to reach out and touch them in those, the nooks and crannies of where those rocks are set up, it might have been a difference maker to put NWO down faster. But NWO did a really good job of just holding down there and adjusting with the way that Degeneration X was. You guys were going all the way top left, bottom right, and everywhere in between trying to break that open for a while. It was interesting to watch, but I agree with what Mecca said at the very beginning. Outpost Delta has some issues for USL right now. We're going to have to talk about those in the offseason. Can this map be used in the future for USL? I don't know, because I think you're going to see what happened in the game. In this game specifically, this is the strategy for how you play the game on both sides. And that's a really boring stalemate to watch to a certain degree. But the one who broke it open, 643 play seconds. Nosekeeper comes in and goes 5-1, and absolutely does make you guys play a very different game. NWO had to play a different game with him on the field, and I didn't notice that Typhoon wasn't having a great game. But I agree with what Bowen said, that Yosh was not having a particularly bad game at all. So it was an interesting choice. We said so when it happened. Turned out to be the right call, though. Nosekeeper the god. Let's move on to Degeneration X defeats Cats 76-50. Your MVP was Iron in another interesting Week 3 match.
Yeah, I think this one. I think Ernie kind of alluded to this in a different interview I don't think it was this game that he did the interview about, but I mean, I think Pandy going 9-10 doesn't help. Ernie himself only went 6-10. Staley went 4-12 as AT. It just kind of overall, they just did not have good games collectively. Iron and Jeff are popping off as well. And I think that I don't know what's wrong with Cats this season. I know that they don't have Kaga and Soul, but I think they should be a little bit better than this. It does take a toll on Ernie leading when he's trying to be their best Ruin as well. But the one good thing I would say about Cats, and I think you guys have alluded to already, is that Bond's medic, he's pushing for best medic. And, I've always thought he was a good medic. He was on squads with me before, on Snakes and a bunch of other squads before, and I always thought he was good if he actually committed and played. The Cave Beast Ward is literally named after him. So I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up winning the medic award this season, or is at least in serious contention, or gets a vote or two.
Yeah, so everyone's panicking on Cats. I don't think they need to panic at all. Here's the reason why. Both matches, they pushed into their enemy. I think over the course of the season, that is going to favor them a lot more than just sitting back, chilling, and camping. I think that their style and what they're doing is going to be more beneficial in the long term. So everyone's panicking on them. I don't think it's time to panic at all. Like they wanted to see, hey, we're going to fight them straight up. And they went and fought Crusaders. They were pushing them at their base the entire time. So I think they played fine, to be honest.
Yeah, honestly, I thought that Cats kind of like, and this was kind of like the whole flavor of that whole weekend, which was that a lot of teams would underestimate the other team and would feel like they should be able to easily push the other team. When, of course, we see what happens, that the Cat being so hard to break, that then, their plan fails, right? And yeah, they played well. I think that actually might have been one of the hardest matches for Cats this season, just because it was unexpected. And truth be told, I do think that they are still, in my opinion, the number two, potentially even the number one. I mean, they have that capability. I did kind of see in the beginning, and I even said in the beginning that they're probably we're gonna see their final form closer to the second half of the season. So I kind of do expect more bigger things coming up here for them.
Yeah, this is the one I didn't get to watch, unfortunately, because I was commentating and attempting to record the other match at the exact same time. So I can't comment a lot. I will say, looking at the numbers, I mean, Stav had to push out 6K healing. I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot of healing to have to do, and not an abnormality actually for a very good roster that popped out from DX there too. So as mentioned, I don't think this is a hang your head moment at all. Like, they did the damage. Stavadine is just a medic god. So, and as you saw, Iron Colossal have just gone off on the numbers, and Sav, Nas, and Rogue all went really well. So, it is kind of the nature of the beast in this one, and I think DX just outplayed it a little bit. Looks like from the numbers anyway.
Just to respond to Splittah's final form comment, I think we see their final form once Kaga rejoins the roster, since he's a free agent just before roster lock. Winky face. But yeah, no. Sav and I talked about this matchup going into this week, and we said that we were going to play Cats for tempo, and it was nonstop fighting. It was probably one of the more entertaining matches to watch and play in, honestly, this week, just because it literally was nonstop fighting. There was no camping. We were constantly moving, and it was just a good game. Legacy really being the only kind of pillar of consistency, going 9-8 for them. I think as the season goes on, I hope that Ernie can kind of rein in Suicide Pandy, because they really need him to stabilize and still put that aim on other squads, right? So once we can rein him in, or they can rein him in, they should be better. But yeah, overall, just a good game, and we came away with it.
You guys have already said it. I think, I do think that there's a glimmer of hope in the future for Cats. I think they can get it together. I think there are some issues with this game that some people got exposed, got caught out. And I think Degeneration X had the first kill in every single battle. It was, yeah, Degeneration X showed out. You look at the disparity in the scores. I think it's interesting to see the way that Iron, Colossal, Sav, and Nas combined in this game. That's the core. That's a huge boon when you got guys performing like that. Legacy tried his best to match, but just couldn't. I agree with what Mecca said. Bonds has showed up as an amazing medic this season. I did not realize he had the stats he had until you start just looking at it. But I think that Slob and Bonds are absolutely the medic team for this roster. The question is who's on the bottom of the roster for Cats. Chica, I thought, did not have the best game. Kind of got exposed on that. I thought Staley, maybe this is one of his poor games in the season. But I, at the same time, I think a lot of it came down to this. Tactical said in the match against NWO from Spec Chat, he said, "This is really boring to watch. This is not the way we're going to play this game." And I think everybody realized Outpost Delta is a little bit slanted, and I think he just wanted to make it a more fun game, and they really launched into it. And I think this is the result of the final score from them doing that. Degeneration X wins it. We'll see how Cats form plays out for the rest of the season. Let's move on to the next game, which is Suicide Squad bounces back to defeat New World Order 51-30. Your MVP was Flo in the second big upset of this week.
Yeah, this was an interesting game. I think if they don't get blown out by Nexus, they probably lose this game. But I think SV takes this game a lot more seriously. You can see, Victim as a medic and CC as medic. Fresh was medic in the first game, absolutely was awful. Victim was demo, missing every RPG unless it was Bowen. I know his Bowen caught about 50 of those. Besides that, I mean, like Shasta had a really good game. Flo is underrated. Flo, if Chompy wasn't taking the league by storm right now, I think Flo would have a legitimate shot at Cave Beast. I think he's a really good ripper. Like to see him play Marine a little bit more just for a little bit of versatility. And then SV Demo, I think, did a lot in this game. I know he didn't play it the whole game, I don't think, but and then Flash having a pretty decent game, 8-5. I think he was missing that first game as well. But New World Order only getting 30 with their probably ideal lineup. I mean, you got Ninja showing up, Danny Leak, Split, Kevin, and Pister. Like, I don't think you can get much better than that on New World Order, and you still lose by 21. Again, I don't think it's time to sound the alarm because it might be map dependent. They're going to play each other again, so we'll see what happens that time on different sides. But I think this definitely is a shock because if you look at just on paper, New World Order should have won this by quite a bit.
I don't really have too much to say about this
sorry,
game.
Darden.
I don't really have too much to say about this game because I couldn't watch it. The doubleheader's got to stop, please. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, it was a rough game. Leak said it best. We're all kind of like frazzled after that ATW loss. We're still kind of like stuck on that loss and how it happened and whatever. And then we, right after, go straight into a Suicide Squad match. Obviously underestimating them, especially since they just lost to Nexus by quite a bit. So we felt like we would just be able to push them easily. A few things definitely did work to their favor. Flow was huge. He prevented a lot of the pushes. And on that map, since it's like really tight quarters, it really prevents a lot of pushing and capability for pushing. We did have the lead a few times, but then with that being said, we were still under the assumption that we could just keep pushing, which was not smart. We should have actually played a little bit more methodical. But with all that being said, I don't think any of us played great, including myself. Of course, Eric, I think, joined broadcast today just because of my poor play this weekend. So he's really happy with that. But overall, I think NWO, where we are right now, I did kind of predict that there would be a split between us and Suicide Squad. So this is not like super surprising. But yeah, I do believe that we do have the better lineup. We did have the better lineup that weekend. But yeah, it just didn't work out to our favor.
Yeah, I mean, so this one I got a chance to watch, obviously, because I've commentated it and failed recording it. Flo, as just to echo what Splittah said, like Flo really stopped a lot of things from happening, and him going 10-4 is even not even indicative of how good he was that game. Flo Mountain has actually kind of stopped him from playing Ripper a bit this season. I think him being on Ripper is actually solid, at least especially on this map. Maybe it doesn't work on other maps, right? But I think the support classes actually gave SS a bit of a leg up in this game. Mountain was hitting his RPGs like a madman. Shasta was on point with the LMG. Flo was on point with the Ripper. So I mean, it was solid watching SS play. And just NW didn't have a good way to break it.
I mean, I didn't, obviously, like Yosh, didn't get to watch this match because I was playing in the other one. But I got a question. You mean to tell me you let Flo rip, but you give Exodus in an SB shit for going Ripper? But all of a sudden you're playing it out? Come on, man. But in all seriousness, looking at just the paper score there, Flo did show out 10-4, SV 8-4, Shasta 11-3. This is kind of the roster I was hoping to see Mountain field against Nexus, minus Ghost Bomber. You put Apollo in and Fresh out for maybe Mites even. I think Mites has a better ceiling than Fresh does, but I was calling for CC and Victim to med that entire time. And really the only bright spot for New World Order this entire week was Ninja. He was kind of the stable Marine, limiting his bad deaths. I don't think he had a bad death. So you see him 7-5, everybody else is 6 to 7 deaths, 11 deaths. and Sammy needs more support than that. Unfortunately, he can't carry all the time.
I think Mecca's exactly right that if the Nexus game doesn't happen, then I don't think Suicide Squad does this to NWO. And maybe Splittah is exactly right that NWO is still reeling from their loss to Degeneration X and kind of slow to start. But Suicide Squad knew they needed this win, and they came out like that. It seems like. Although I will say I didn't get to see this game either. But I predicted that that NWO would win this game big. I don't think they had a good week at all. At all. I don't think that speaks to the squad either. I think it is a lot on map dependent. But I also think that sometimes just people have off weeks. And I think that might be just what happened here. Just wasn't a good week for them overall. But I do think NWO is firmly the either second or third best team in this league right now if they have their starting 8 in. And I look for them to show me that's true in upcoming weeks. So we'll move on to the game that I think everybody was maybe more shocked by than the Nexus win, which is Cats defeated Crusaders in a nail biter, 24-23. Your MVP was Pandy, and we have to mention that Crusaders started on Titan.
Yeah, I think this boils down to what the kids say. Bax has negative aura. He just cannot win a clutch game. He doesn't have a clutch gene. Even though he goes 10-3 and kind of dominated the whole game, he just can't do it in the last minute. And I think Cats played like Suicide Squad did against Nexus. They did not predict that they would be even in the fight at all. You see Staley going 2-3 as sniper. They put Yami in. Pandy was feeding like crazy. Playoff Pandy was shining bright in this game, and it was really bad. Not much good to say about Cats in this, except they played really well in the last 2 minutes and got the win. On the other side, Crusaders, except for Bax, and Uni played pretty well too. Everybody else kind of just had ho-hum games. I don't know about playing 3K. I mean, the guy's kind of a loose cannon anyways. And sometimes when he's playing, I don't know what it is. I don't want to talk too much shit about him, but like sometimes when you watch him play, and you saw it kind of towards the last few battles of this game, the guy's played enough games now that you're like, what the fuck is this guy doing? And I think that kind of cost him the game there. But overall, Cass did not want to see this game so closely. But again, I don't think it's the end of Cats or anything like that. They'll be around. They'll be in the playoffs. Not worried about that at all. But they need to seriously consider what they're doing going forward. I don't think they can take any squad lightly, because when they play Nexus, the same thing could happen, except Nexus could actually win this game.
Let me real quick follow that up with a question, Becca, that maybe you other guys can comment on afterwards. Smackrock is the sub that comes out for Doghouse. If Smackrock stays in that roster, does Crusaders win this game?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, Doghouse 3K is just, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with that guy. But go ahead, Eric.
I was gonna say, I still think you make a sub. I think you sub that dude because he played absolutely trash. And you tell Negi, hey, please go medic for the last 5 minutes. You have Negi and Manu as medic, and 3K comes in as a Marine, and Smackrock stays in, because that dude is the reason they lost that game.
Well, let's go. Let's go to Yosh. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, Eric took the words. I was just about to harp on that. I do want to do a shout out to the whole Crusaders team, though. With all the shit that they had been catching this entire week, the Dark Slayer stuff, they really came up and showed out and played. So I just want to shout that out. Credit for those guys for showing up and putting on a half decent performance. I got nothing bad to say about that, and they proved they deserve to be here. So all that Dark Slayers talk can end right now.
Yeah, I thought it was a brilliant match overall. Manu coming finally comes and transformed the team. Sorry? What happened?
He said pastas. That's what she said.
Just move on, Split. Let's just go.
But yeah, Man U honestly makes a huge difference. Throughout the weeks, they had like literally not much leading, even during their practice SPs. I've seen a lot of variations with leadership, but with Man U there, it actually brings stability. You had Man U, you had Torch. So we gotta saw backs rather Crusaders at their best position almost. Yeah, Bax was playing phenomenal. I mean, I know Mecca was talking shit earlier, but truth be told, I mean, he was the difference maker on that match for sure, no doubt about it. He made a lot of he made that whole game close, right? Um, as for Cats, I think one of the reasons that it was close is because they try to fight back sniper to sniper, which I don't think it was wise either. I mean, they could have probably just ran them over a little bit more with another Marine, in my opinion. But with that being said, yeah, it was definitely the match of the week, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple things here. It was hard time before I could get to it as well. Like I said it all last season. Stop playing that dude as medic. Stop it. Like, I don't understand. Every week we watch him play medic. It is an absolute shit show. Stop putting him at medic. He is a serviceable Marine. He's a serviceable any class. He's actually a decent sniper. Stop playing him as medic. It is awful to watch. Like, he's in position to be a kill class as a medic and just gets taken out. Just stop. Like, it's actually maddening. He is the reason they lost that game. Staley, if he isn't a sniper and goes one of his normal classes, like it goes up further. And I mean, Manu, coming in and doing his thing, yeah, he's a big difference maker. But I mean, 3K just trolling into that match, like, it's frustrating to watch. But also, as Yosh said, I called it out and actually sent a message to Smack. I was like, look, appreciate you guys coming in, showing you have 8 people, actually more than 8. You had 11 online at the time. And just showing out and, proving that you deserve to be here. We don't know anything about Dark Slayers. Just be here, and thank you for showing up.
Eric?
Yeah, I'm not going to rag on that dude anymore because I think we've all said what needs to be said. But that's also what you get for kicking Chico just for NTing for another squad, right? You have to play somebody like that. Pandy almost cost the game for him, but at the same token, Pandy was the reason they were able to keep pushing that south angle because he was pushing Smackrock and that dude back 1v2 and they were able to take those angles. I don't think Bax is the reason they lost in those final seconds. Like Splittah said, Bax was on fire. He's the reason they stayed in that game and won some battles. Say what you will about him, he hits his shots. But I mean, the reason they lost in that second, and I actually talked to Bax wanted to go up north and run around the final seconds instead of balling up. But you had people like Scarface trolling and staying in the building and getting caught, and then they all clumped up and lost in that final second. So shout out to Crusaders for showing 8. Good game.
It was a fantastic game, and I just want to. I can't even imagine what this league would look like if Cats had been upset in that game. It came so close. They really did have it until the very last second, and maybe that speaks to what Mecca was saying earlier. I don't know. What I will say is that for I don't think it was a great game for really any of the Cats guys. Pandy was very serviceable and fine, except he had 7 deaths. That's 3 more deaths than anybody else in the game on either team. I don't understand that either. But for Crusaders, I will say total kudos to those guys for the lineup they showed, for the way they showed it, for the game that they put on. I do think that the doghouse call was not what I would have done, and that dude either. But I do want to compliment Bax was a nightmare out there in this game. I think you put him at that level on any squad, and he is a tide turner. Really good job for him. Uni is having a great season. He puts up 5-2 in this game as well. I just want to compliment that kid. This is the most consistent play I've seen from Uni, maybe in his entire career. And Torch, I was glad to see him play. I liked the first half of the game. I agree with Eric, though, in the second half. I think there were some bad decisions made, but honestly, for the amount of time we've seen Torch in pub or any other aspect, I thought he played very fine. My one question mark on Crusaders that we haven't talked about was Oct. I thought he was very piss poor as far as Ripper in this game, and I thought this game was actually going to... I thought the map would cater to his play style very well. And I thought he was going to do a good job of splitting up either the main or the flank a little bit so that his team could wipe him out. And he really, while he did do some things, I don't think he was necessarily a big component of the way that Crusaders played in this game. I thought Bax was way more important in this game, and maybe that's the Boctavian, kind of that's what we're waiting for to see is who shows up this week. Is it Bax or is it Octavian? One of the two is gonna do really well. And for this week, it was clearly Bax. So good job to Crusaders. Let's do kind of a lightning round if we can here, talking about week 4 games. Let's just go around the horn and say, who do you think wins this game? And if you want to say a final score, that's great as well. Also, I think there are 3 questions for which is the match of the week. So if you wouldn't mind, tell us if this is your match of the week, because I want to get an idea of what game are people watching. Week 4, let's see here. 8:45, we have D-Generation X against Suicide Squad.
Yeah, I'm going to take DX. We're Collie in this game. We should show a few more people than we haven't showed this year. So it'll be interesting. It's going to be super early, so who knows who's all actually going to be showing. Other than that, having Collie is good because in the first game, Suicide Squad played low under the river the whole time, and I had to lead. So with Sov leading, I think you'll see a bit bigger of a spread. I think DX probably wins this game by 15-20, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I like us in this as well, for all the reasons Mecca said.
Split. Let's go into Bowen.
Yeah, I mean DX on Kali. Yeah, this is DX's game.
Yeah, sorry, same thing. Yeah, DX Collie, it's a no-brainer at this one for this one.
Yeah, everybody already said it. We've got Kali and Sov's going to be there to lead instead of a combination of Mecca, Yosh, and me just talking. But yeah, we win by like
Just
30.
It's a big opportunity for Suicide Squad. I think everybody expects for D-Generation X to win. If Suicide Squad came out here with the same team they did against NWO and puts up that kind of performance, maybe keep it close. See what you can do. Week 3 showed that the crazier things can happen, I think. So it'd be an interesting match either way. 9:30, Cats versus Nexus.
I think this is going to be closer than people think. Nexus does have home. So obviously Kali on KR is, as Yosh always says, plus 20. The thing is, I think that Ernie's going to be pissed from last week. So I don't think you're going to see an easy version of Cats. I think Ernie's going to want to win this game. He's not going to let them lose to Nexus like Suicide Squad did because he's going to be pissed about the Crusaders game. So I think you see a really good version of Cats this weekend. Maybe even Kago shows up. Who knows? But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and take Cats on this one.
Yeah, I'm taking Cats as well. I think this is the redemption game. They're gonna come out hungry, and Nexus is gonna pay the price.
Yeah, I definitely do think Cats will win this match as well. I do think it'll be a lot closer than everyone expects, though, just because of the improvement that I've been seeing overall for Nexus and them being on Kali. So I do see this potentially being within like a 20 kill or less margin.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm hoping we can keep this close. It's going to be an interesting one to watch. I feel again we're going to be on Kali, so that swing is there. Interesting scenario is that Chompy, being the monster that he is, isn't as experienced on KR as the rest of skirmish players are. So to him, it's still basically kind of a new map, right? So it's going to be kind of par for the course for him, but like the guys coming from Cats know this map like the back of their hand. So it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be an interesting match. We're going to do what we can with it, and we'll just see how it goes. Maybe we can play this the potential over aggression against him. We'll see. I don't know, but yeah, should be fun.
So this is actually my dark horse match of the week. Specifically because Nexus does have collective and you've got Fausto leading these guys in the right direction and Chompy performing. I get that he's newer to this map, but he's very quick on the uptake and he's always around SBing and being used as an NT. So he should be able to figure it out, right? I think with Fausto leading and you guys having Kali, it is a closer match. I still give it the Cats, but you know what? Screw it. I'll be the odd man out. I'm saying Nexus wins.
Ooh, I
Wow.
like it.
All right.
And it's going to be 41-38.
Whoa.
That's big shoes to fill. We'll try and do our best. I think Cats are clearly the favorites, but not by a huge margin. I think, but I don't know that, like Mecca saying, Legacy and Tactical are going to be out to prove something this week. I said nobody had a great game last week. I think Fairfax played fine, very fine. And I think that Legacy, Tactical, and Fairfax together. There's a lot of open play field here for Nexus to compete with Cats, and that's kind of the bread and butter for Cats. They are better shooters than just about every other team, and we're gonna have to do our best. That's all there is to it. Let's move on to the next Cats game, Nexus game. 10-15 Nexus v Crusaders.
Yeah, I think I don't know. Nexus should win this game based off the momentum from last week, but Cats having Collie on this on this game is pretty huge.
I think you mean
Crusaders having
yeah,
Collie. Yeah, Crusaders having Collie is huge because even though Back said in his Discord today that Crusaders doesn't camp, they absolutely camp and they absolutely will camp, especially if Manu's leading. If Manu's not there, I think Nexus runs away with this game because I don't think Bax is a good leader, nor does he really want to. But the thing is, against Crusaders, and everybody said before, Bax is having a pretty good season. Nexus catches more snipes than any team I've ever seen in the history of USL. So if you don't clean that up, if you let Bax pop off, it's over. You need to have Draco solo flanking him every battle. You cannot just let Bax sit back. And the same thing about Oct. Oct is not a very good ripper. He's good on KR because KR is a ripper map. He can just sit back and spam. That's why you saw him exposed last week. If you don't contend on Oct, if you're not shooting laws at him, throwing nades, etc., it's going to happen again. You're going to see Brocktavian trying out again. So you guys need to dodge snipes, solo, and then solo flank the Ripper and Sniper. And I think Nexus can take this by, I'm going to say, one battle.
So this is actually my match of the week. I think this is going to be a nice, fun match. If Nexus can dodge the snipes, they're going to do well. If they can't, this game might get ugly really quickly.
Okay.
Yeah, if Crusaders shows the same lineup that they had just this last weekend, honestly, I think they're going to win by quite a bit. And there's a few reasons why, because I could see them usually camping on their base, back sniping, and players like Choppy having a hard time because it's not an easy push to break, right? So, and then obviously when they get the lead, it's just kind of spiral out of control, right? Because of that, I definitely do think that that Bax actually, this would probably be his best match this season, in my opinion. And obviously we've seen Nexus improving gradually week by week, but it's just simply because of this map. They're being at a disadvantaged situation that they're probably losing.
Yeah, I'm actually going to give this to my squad on this one. I've been talking to Fausto a little bit, and I'm going to talk to him quite a bit more this week, just about some ideas and stuff, just dealing with the Ripper Sniper combo. We didn't play it well that last game at all. I didn't really eat a lot of snipes, but several of our guys did. So for sure, we've got to do better about that, especially coming from Titan. I think that we could maybe use a couple things to our advantage with some of the changes on the south side. But we've got, like I said, we just got to play the Sniper and Ripper better. So I'm going to be talking that over at Fausto a bit. You're going to see some different stuff, I think, out of this one. And yeah, I mean, I'm going to have some confidence in my guys here. And I think we take this.
Here's the thing, right? Mecca already said it. You have to have somebody putting constant pressure on Back so he can't set up and set shop, right? Same with Octavian as a Ripper. Now, they do have collective Crusaders, that is. So what really comes down to is if Nexus can go ahead and win that first fight and bring it to their terms, Nexus wins. And I still think they're going to win because I don't think Manu shows up. I think he showed up out of spite of Tyrael and everything that was going on for the Cats versus Crusaders match. I don't think he shows again, and I don't think you get the same performance from everybody on Crusaders. I think that Fausto will be able to dial up some plays with Bowen, as he already mentioned. And, these two squads aren't like Cats or DGX where they just want to keep pushing the fight just to fight, right? They're gonna once they get up, they're gonna set up shop in their favor. So I give this to Nexus probably, I'd say 48-40 coming down to the last battle.
I hope that is the result. I will say that I do think Nexus, I like Bowen. I'm going to give it to us. I think we're hungry right now, and they're going to meet us on the right week. We do have the huge disadvantage, though, so we're going to be conscious of the fact that it could swing the other way. Let's go to the next game. If that wasn't the match of the week, for me, this one probably is. 11 p.m., we have New World Order v. Cats.
Yeah, this is my game of the week as well. I think Cats take this. Cats have home. I think you saw NWO exposed a little bit last week. They kept it close for us because they camped their bottom corner of the map, and then they got destroyed by Suicide Squad. So if Suicide Squad can beat them on OD, I have to imagine Cats can beat them on KR when they're on Kali. Pisser's not going to be able to camp on Titan. You can, but the camp on Titan is just not very good. If you hold it in the rocks, there's so many angles to flank on. Top of Y Road isn't the best, I don't think, either to camp. So I think this is a true test for Pisser's leading. Can he do anything besides camp or ambush or sit in vision bugs to get a close win? So I think Cats take this going away. Just because one, like I said, Kali, and I think Legacy has a huge game here because everything's in the open. There's nothing to duck behind. There's no rocks to hide behind. Can't just camp your base and wait for respawn. So I have Cats by 15 in this game.
Yeah, I think obviously Cats holds the advantage just because of being Kali. It'll be interesting to see if Pister can adjust and see if he can break that south position.
Yeah, I think that Cats definitely do have the advantage this match. They have obviously the side advantage, which we all know is really rough. So it really depends. I do notice a few things about Cats that's really commendable, which is the fact that usually they don't camp, right? Which is really, kind of a double-edged sword, right? Which kind of sets them apart, in my opinion, than any other squad. What I mean by that is that if they even have the lead, they'll potentially still push, right? Which kind of would then, make this match look completely different than what we would all expect. But yeah, with that being said, I still think that Cats has the advantage, and I would give it to them.
Kali Cats. That's what I'm going with. I mean, this is what it's going to be. I mean,
South is king.
Yep. Kali and Cats just take this. I don't have anything to add, really.
Okay.
Yep. I mean, Cats with Collective, they definitely win this one. Unfortunately, Sammy can't do all the work, and Plumber Split's going to get exposed again.
My only question right now is, are the Cats medics as good as we think they are? I think that if NWO can pick off a couple, just a medic, just one medic in a battle, I think that might be the way that they can get in this game. But if they don't do that, I absolutely agree that Cats run away with this. I think Legacy is going to go the fuck off this week. And if NWO doesn't watch it, this could end up being a really big win for Cats. I think it really comes down to, can you pick off Bonds or Slob? So I'll be looking for that for sure. Final game of the week is going to be 11:45, Crusaders versus Suicide Squad.
Yeah, I think Suicide Squad wins this pretty easily, especially if Manu doesn't show, Bax leading from Titan, or even if it's Smack Rock, is just going to be a disaster. Bax is not going to want to change from Sniper. He'll have somebody else try to lead like Smack Rock, who I don't think is that great of a leader. I commend him for staying on Crusaders and kind of keeping it together, in my opinion, but I don't think he's that great of a leader. And I think Suicide Squad is going to come out with a vengeance. They're going to put some of their good players in. They're not going to troll like they did versus Nexus, because if they lose this match, you'll literally never hear the end of it. And I don't think our SV wants to deal with those consequences. So I think you see Suicide Squad by probably 40 or 50 in this game.
I'm going to say Bax does well this game. I think Suicide Squad, they have to come out the gate pretty heavy and not be overconfident. I think if they put somebody on backs and make his life hard, they're gonna do well. If not, Bax is gonna start picking people off.
Yeah, I think it's going to come down to honestly Man U being there or not.
Mm-hmm.
Man U's there. Crusaders have a chance. If he's not there, they have zero hope. And with that being said, Suicide Squad still has the side advantage. Even with Man U there, I still think that they would have the advantage regardless. So with that, yeah, I'll give it to Suicide Squad by at least 10 or more kills.
I mean, if Manu's there, SS wins by 20. If Manu isn't there, SS wins by 50. It's going to be it's the wrong side, and as mentioned, SV is going to be coming out pissed. So good luck, Crusaders, in this one. I mean, full power to you. I think Bax might be the only person who has a good match. The rest of them will get run over.
Yeah, echoing what everybody said. I mean, it all depends on if Manu shows, but that only is the difference of 20 or losing by 20 to losing by 40 to 50. SV is going to come out pissed because he's going to lose to us in the first game. So he's going to look to get a stat pad in.
I will concur with all of you. I think that's exactly it. It just depends on the roster that Crusaders have out there, but I agree that Bax has a good chance of doing pretty well regardless. But I think Suicide Squad wins this pretty heavily. Let's go on. Well, first of all, I did make a USL Live Top 5 for Week 3. Unfortunately, I have not done a write-up, nor did I do a write-up last week. I apologize. A lot to get done for me. But number 1 for this week, I had the Great Chompy, 18-5 against Suicide Squad. Just an absolutely outrageous week for our most likely Cave Beast. 2, I had 4, a.k.a. Bax. He went 10-3 against Cats. Absolutely was the X factor of that game, and his team probably deserved the win if you're just looking at his performance. Iron would be number 3, 17-6 against Cats, just incredible numbers there. He also put up 4-2 against NWO. Just a really good week for young Iron. Number 4 would be Shasta, aka DMX. Had 11-3 against NWO. Impressive week for him as well. And number 5 for the super sub, that'd be Nosekeeper, went 5-1 as a Grenadier against NWO with only 643 play seconds after he subbed in for Yosh. So amazing week for those 5 guys, and congratulations to all of them. Let's go to the mailbag. Starting out the questions here. Following the conclusion of this season, what happens afterwards? Many players are, of course, going to be participating in CTF-DL Season 2, but there are several of us who, no offense, don't really want to play in that league. What could USL do in the offseason to keep the player base engaged in a way that doesn't conflict with CTF scheduling?
SL Thursdays. I mean,
SL Thursdays, man.
It was popular when I was running it, and it had a really good turnout. If they want to do a draft league or just continue to do kind of mixes, whatever the case may be, I think that's the most appropriate thing.
I'm gonna say nothing. Join the draft league, nerd.
No, I didn't get to play the last time, even though I showed
That's
it.
not my fault. Everybody on my team played.
Yeah, I'd say the SUT tournament was pretty good the last few times that MP ran it. And it definitely attracted a lot of players that I didn't see play USL before. And I think it would actually transition over as well, pretty well.
We need a SUT draft league, 3v3 draft league. I think that'd be crazy cool if you just did that would be 3-4 week tournament. Yeah, I think could be really cool. Because I don't think people want to do a draft league in SL, and I think you can do the SUT draft league and also SL Thursdays. I don't see why you can't do both at the same time. Just keep it fresh, keep people wanting to log in. And then, if they don't, they get a break from USL for a few weeks or sign up for draft league. So, at least has a bunch of different options for one option for everybody. So everybody can be happy.
I have things to write down. So, yeah.
Join the draft league, nerds.
I mean, I'll be back on it, I'm sure. Change the sudden death rules, though.
Oh, that's already happened.
Good. Did we lose Ron?
Oh, well, it would help if I wasn't muted, wouldn't it? I definitely agree that draft league is I like the idea of a draft league, either SUT or SL. Both of those are very fine. I like the idea of Thursdays being the game nights. I think that we get further with a SL league. But to each their own. I hope we put up a poll and take a look at what the community wants to do with that. Let's see here.
Polls.
Oh, boys!
Poll the boys.
All the boys.
Is Tyrael responsible for the Crusader resurgence we're seeing right now? And should Bax be thanking him for helping to galvanize his team?
Yes, I think Back should write Tyrael email, a lengthy email, and thank him for Crusaders still being in the league, because it really it made Manu show up and them almost getting a win. Does Manu show up if he doesn't? So yes, I think he needs to formally thank Tyrael for keeping him active.
Agreed.
That's amazing, actually.
All right. I got nothing to say on that.
I don't disagree at all. I think that a lot of their willingness to show up on Sunday was spite driven, and that's fine by me. Whatever gets you up on Sunday is fine. But they absolutely showed out, and I think the game on Sunday was a direct result of Tyrael and his shit talking. Let's see here, Eric. I think you've got a few questions. Let's toss to you real quick.
Actually, all the ones I had were from Yosh because he wasn't sure if he was going to make it or not. So I think Yosh should read the ones that he sent me.
Okay. So I'm going to go. So the first one I got is, hello, I'm a CTF player looking to dip my toes at USL. What squads would you recommend I join to learn about skirmish and understand the league play? What squads should I avoid?
Avoid SV.
Yeah,
clearly
with his track record. Yeah,
with his track record, and like I know a lot of us know SV. It's just kind of how he talks.
Mhm.
But a lot of people coming in new to the league don't know him, and they hear him talk like that, and they're like, "Oh, he's degrading." So I would avoid SV, and honestly, this is going to be controversial, especially after everything that's been going on. Yosh, Sav, and I were talking about this. I think Bax is the best bet to go to. And the reason being is because he squad battles so much. That's the best way to get experience is to just SB constantly and dip your toes in. And then somebody might pick you up from those SBs, some other squads. Nexus is another good one. They were my runner-up for that. But I think Bax is the best bet.
I think Nexus would be right there with Crusaders if we had more players. The problem is we don't always have 6 or 7 online. But if we got a few CTFers to add to that, I think we would SB a whole lot more than we do. I think Crusaders are fine. I think that you'd learn a lot more from Manu in terms of where to, basically everything than you would from Bax. I think Bax is a fine player. I just don't know that he imparts that to newer players as well as Manu would. But I do think that you get a lot of playtime, and there's a lot of good people on that team. And so I think any of those are fine. I think Tactical is a very, very good person to learn from for a new player. So if you had an opportunity to go to Cats, that would be a really good one. And obviously, Degeneration X has a lot of people that have taught a lot of people the game. So any of those would be good. I think the only one you probably want to avoid at this point would be Suicide Squad, unless you have a pre-existing relationship with Mountain and you understand that he is not being just a total asshole. That's just the way he is.
All right. Well, he's next with R about Mountain. So, is losing to Nexus and giving them some well-deserved confidence the greatest contribution SC has ever made to USL?
So far, yes.
All right, moving on.
Like this, I'm not gonna say nothing because I'm not down for trash talking players that I hear. But with that being said, no.
Okay. Next one is. There's a rumor that Bruce Banner, SV, turned into the Hulk after losing to Nexus. This likely led to Jake leaving the squad. This is the 5th turnover from SV's squad where people have complained about his behavior. Would the USL Live team recommend playing with SV as a new player, especially the CTFers that Tyrael/Darkslayers have encouraged to play more SK mixes? Some of you have played with SV in the past. Do you think it's him or them has a problem?
We just kind of answered this, but I mean, SV can be intense, and some people just don't want to be around that. Some people are looking for, as I've said so many times, my job is incredibly stressful, and when I come home, the last thing I want is for somebody to be yelling at me about a 1998 video game. Are you fucking joking? And I hear that. At the same time, I don't think Mountain is intentionally He's not riding you because he just wants to be a jerk. He wants a change in the play. And I've been on the receiving end of a lot of that. And you know, I think I take to it well. It teaches me things I didn't know, and I try to improve the next time I play with him.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think SV has a hard time taking accountability for himself. Like, I'm sure he blamed everybody else for that Nexus loss except for himself. But at one point, what point do you lose by 31 to the last place team at the time, and it's not the leader's fault? I think he just needs to take more accountability in those losses. A good leader will know when to say, "Hey, that's my bad. I didn't lead well. I didn't put us in a position to win." And I just don't think you ever see that out of Mountain. And I think that's his biggest flaw. And I also think that's why everybody ditched him this season. I think that's why you don't see him on NWO, because he'll, when he loses, instead of saying, "Hey, that's my bad," he PM Saab and say, "This guy sucks. This guy sucks." So I think if SV wants to grow as a leader and a captain, he's got to start taking more accountability for himself, and then I think you'll see vets come back, and then I think it would be a good spot for new players to go, because there's new players that play well for him. Like Flo is in there. You see Mites play pretty well under him too, so he has the tools to teach him. He just needs the attitude to go along with it.
Mecca took the words out of my mouth.
All right. The next one is for Splittah. After insinuating that he plays LMG, the most overpowered class, is Splittah certifiably the biggest plumber in USL. He went 2-4 against DX, 5-6 against Suicide Squad. Can he rely on stats against Nexus and Crusaders to make his case as a top 10 killer in this league, as he only seems to perform against low-tier squads?
I'll back it up for
promise
Splittah.
this wasn't me.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll
Okay.
back it up for Splittah.
I'm going to put that out there. This is not
Okay.
Eric.
Okay.
I think the last 2 seasons, Splittah has played much better than when I've seen him in the past. I've always thought Splittah was a very above average player, but the last 2 seasons have been really good. I don't know that the fault lies on Splittah's lap. I don't. I think that other people are going down, and then he's just on the receiving end of a landslide coming his squad's way. I think his LMG has been on point. I think he's one of the few players who's looking at not the team they're fighting, but the team that's fighting the other team. I think he's one of the ones that's constantly looking at that and looking to contribute and do team shooting. And I think that's an invaluable resource especially when you're playing against the top tier squads.
Well, LMG is the best team shooting class in the game. It's the most overpowered. You got 50 bullets in the clip, and you still only go 2 and 4. But I digress. I've already talked enough shit about Split.
So yeah, let me get to this question. Okay, so yeah, LMG. It's interesting that LMG is always a discussion now, right? It started off with.
I have a question
Kaga,
about this in a
then-
bit. Split, just a heads up.
Yeah, and it's interesting. It's interesting. It's until you have a player like my level playing LMG that people start saying, "Oh, you know what? We should have other Marines start switching to this class, right?" And then that kind of spirals out, and then you see like great players like Saw play LMG, right? It's not. It was previously thought of as a class that was supposed to be for a weaker player to kind of fit in to a squad or fit in and fill that hole. But it ends up being what it was from the beginning, which was always overpowered. It just took certain players to point that out a lot more than others, right? As for me as LMG, preferably actually, contrary to popular opinion, I actually prefer Marine over LMG. Why?
Sure.
Because the reason why is because I can move around a lot more, right? With the LMG, I have to stay with my team. When I'm Marine, I have a little bit more flexibility. Which who knows? Maybe I'll transition over back to that. But yeah, go ahead.
Well, let me ask this question, because this is a companion question, and I want to say, I swear to you, this was submitted by nobody that's in this current chat right now. Okay, the league often jokes about the Shadow Council enacting changes behind the scenes, whether that be to pull strings behind the curtain or pushing narratives. The general consensus is that Kaga as LMG last season was a key component in Warhawks taking home the championship. As a result, commentators this season like Eric and Yosh are now constantly referring to the LMG class as quote-unquote overpowered and regularly mention the large clip size, planting little seeds like shadow farmers. In a match this weekend, Eric said, "If I'm AT and I see an LMG, I'm running the other way. My 8 shots against their 50, yada yada." Are these constant comments which frame a supposed OP LMG class just the Shadow Council members laying the groundwork for a potential nerf of LMG coming in the future?
I'll take this one. I mean, I've always thought LMG was overpowered. First and foremost, I'm the one that made the change to LMG. I had to help Spawn do it. And that's the reason we shrunk down from 2 LMGs on a team to 1. I mean, ISO and Kaga have been playing LMG long before Splittah came back and making it look good. So in this narrative that we're making changes to fit our narrative, no, we gutted AT, which only 3 squads played. You see LMG used by every single squad. If we're looking to balance things out, you got to look at that and say, okay, we need to possibly make a change.
Should
Yeah,
it be
I would agree.
balanced?
I think if you look at the past couple seasons, every time there's an OP class, it gets nerfed. AT, demo, AT again, possibly Ripper kind of, but not really. And then LMG is the one that kind of stands the test of time. I don't necessarily think we need an LMG nerf because there's only one, and I think it has its weaknesses. So I'm perfectly okay with LMG where it is. But to say it's not OP, I think is a little disingenuous. So I do believe it is OP, but it's like safely OP. Now, as far as split playing LMG goes, I would suggest he always plays LMG. I think he's a way better LMG than he is Marine. And as one of the split truthers, back to the old question, I think Split is having a decent season, but back to LMG, I don't think it necessarily needs a nerf. I think you just say, hey, listen, it's going to be a strong class. We're going to have one of them. And to Split's point, anytime somebody who's really good at the game plays a class, it's going to look OP. That's the reason that when Sov's on AT, it looks like the strongest class in the game, and when SV or like Typhoon last season's on it, it looks like a joke. Or when Champs on demo looks crazy, and then when Victims on demo it goes 0-10 and they lose to Nexus. So like it's the good players in the league are always going to make every class that's even fair look OP. So I don't think you can judge on it by that. So I think we should probably just leave LMG alone.
I concur with that.
I think it
Go
needs a
ahead.
nerf. I think it
Yeah,
needs
I
a nerf.
think
If you
I think
look
the
at
clips. Oh, go ahead, sorry, Yosh.
if you look at most of the rankings, you're going to see LMG at the top of the list. One like that until it got giga buffed, because we shrunk it down from being 2 to 1, and we gave it, I think we reduced the spread on it, took away the recoil of the back pedal, and gave it a little bit more damage. Well, you nerfed every other class. So obviously when one class goes down, another one's going to go up. This is basic balance. So I think it's time for LMG to get a nerf, and nothing huge. You don't need to gut it like you gutted AT, right? Maybe take away 10 bullets. Maybe take away 1 damage. Something like that. Doesn't need to be a hard nerf.
To your point, currently Legacy at number 2, Shasta at number 3, Iron at number 5, and Splittah at number 10. Those are your top 4 LMGs. But I will say there's 3 Marines on there as well, and the number 1 overall is an AT. So, Bowen, any thoughts from you?
Yeah, I mean, so I do think we've said for a couple seasons now that if you don't have an LMG, you're kind of nerfing yourself. And I think that mentality means that the class is a little bit OP, because you're clearly putting it a level above everything else on your roster. Also saying that I do think AT might have got over nerfed. I mean, we saw it in the gameplay, against NWO. It cannot, it can't handle the range limit. So there's a couple things that should probably be done to that. I feel like AT's range should be a bit longer. Maybe it needs a longer clip size. I think the dashes, are whatever, but the range should at least be as long as a PDW is now. And LMG, it's powerful. It's really strong. So
Yeah, I think the LMG. As for a nerf, like I could see the clip size being reduced. Other than that, what can you do? The damage, if you reduce it even more than this, it's going to be kind of too close to Marine damage. So it's like basically remove it as a class as a whole, or it's not really much you can do, in my opinion, other than reducing the clip size, I would imagine right now. As for AT, I always said it, and I said it, and I'll say it again, that class is really OP. Obviously we nerfed it because the dash now that's way, way less OP. But still, within that close range environment, that AT has the advantage on pretty much every class. But you have to be able to pull it and to get that close. Obviously, we saw how Eric unable to do that, right? On any of the matches, really, it's really difficult to pull it off. So yeah, I mean, reality wise, right now, I honestly don't think that there should be a major change, if any, for LMG. Probably just the clip size.
I let me just put a cap on this, and I need to move on to the next question if that's okay. I think that LMG is a supporting class. A light machine gun accompanies the infantry for a reason. There's only one of them. I agree with basically everything Mecca said. I wouldn't touch LMG. I think you've got it at a good place right now. And that'll just be my opinion on that. Let me move on to how Bowen. This is a question for you. How will Bowen retain talents like Chompy and Center next season? Will he be able to build a championship caliber squad under good veteran leadership in Fausto? Should Nexus be the training ground for up and coming CTF talent?
Oh man, I think I said it a couple of times. But being admin, I probably am not captaining their squad next season. So no. I think one thing I will give myself credit for. I'm an okay captain. I'm an okay leader. I'm an okay Marine. I think one thing I was giving myself credit for is my ability to eye talent. It was Center last season, and it's Chompy this season. You guys caught it too, but I got him first. So, I've been able to catch talent, and I'm very good at knowing, somebody who has a lot of potential. Mike's had a lot of potential, but he just, he gets in his own way. But next season, I'm not captaining. If there is a Nexus, I'll join it, but I'm not going to be captain of it. I can't do admin and captain at the same time. It is way too interfering, and my vote as a captain really doesn't count as an admin. We have 3 admins. So it's weird, and it puts Nexus in kind of a weird position, and my squad gets caught in a lot of crossfires that I really wish it wouldn't. So, yeah.
Anybody else want to add to that, or we move on?
There's no way he's retaining Chompy.
No, God no. If I stayed captain, Chompy, I would push. I love Chompy. I would gladly keep him if he wanted to stay.
He is a fun teammate.
Yes, and he's a great dude. Absolutely phenomenal human being. Every time I talk to the guy, he's so humble. He always talks about, God, I can't believe I lost us that match. Eating that day. It was dude, it was 3 deaths.
And you went 18-5. Yeah.
So I mean, Chompy is going to go places in this league, and whatever I will push him to go on whatever squad wants him as the highest tier squad, and I want to see that dude get 50 kills in a game next season. I know he can do it. And I look forward to it. So,
yeah. Do you have any more questions, Yosh? I've got 2 more.
Yeah, I think I've got 2 more as well.
Okay, go ahead.
Let me pull them up here. Does the camp timer need to be revisited again? This week we saw numerous squads break camp timers. Even with the new revision to the camp timer, squads shooting at each other is considered engaging. It seems like the problem got worse, despite it trying to make it more clear in the rules. What does the USL Live team think should be done to increase the pace so that the spectators see a more enjoyable game instead of the 20 to 15 minute snooze fest where one squad are just staying in one part of the map 99% of the time?
You said it. Play a different map. That's
it's
what
so
you do.
map dependent,
Yeah,
right?
just the map.
Yeah, that map just encourages that kind of gameplay, and I don't think there's any way to escape it. And I don't think you can blame people for wanting to turtle when clearly the bottom left of the map is the most powerful position in the game. I mean, you're controlling everything. And yeah, that's just the way it shook out.
All right, I got the last one. This one's from Mecca. After witnessing the return of Nos and the Whispers of the Dark Lord Champion returning, is it time for Sov and crew to take the reins back from Mecca and kick him to the gutter?
Damn.
I'll gladly step down and let you guys take back over. I told Sov, I was like, dude, I can bench if you guys want to have everybody come in here. I don't really care at this point. We'll see if Champ actually shows up. Nas is supposed to show up all season. Shows up late, plays Nader. So we'll see how often they actually play.
You have been a rather absent captain this season. Are you back from vacation? What's the status there?
No, I'm still on the beach.
Okay.
I'll be back for this week's match. Don't worry.
He'll be back for Sunday. Okay.
All right, and last one for me. What is the story behind Pister getting banned this week? Is it true? I know Bax was spamming his Discord a lot. I just don't know the story behind that, Bowen. Can you clarify this for me?
Oh God! All right. So I'll just go through the quick rundown of what happened that day. So I got about 49,000 personal messages from multiple people on Crusaders. Apparently, this was like the 5th time that Pister has gotten a hold of their chat. Pister and Kevin. They have been using what I've been told is nefarious, like using aliases that may be another person to make it seem like they were somebody on the squad that needed the chat, and then they would just get in and irritate people. I was told DX was entering the chat. I did not see anybody when I went in there, but I joined the chat and I said, look, you're causing disruption to a squad. It's causing a problem for the league itself. I really need you to drop chat. He said, no, chats are not covered by rules. And I don't know why he thinks that. I mean, because it hasn't been in the past. But, you know, my job is to say, if this is disrupting a squad, if this is disrupting the league, like, I have to deal with it. And I asked him about 7 times, like, please drop the chat or I'm going to have to take action on this. Like, I will remove you for 24 hours. And he refused. And he said, he told me to do it. So I did. And I banned him for 24 hours. The ban did not hold up. He sent me some information the following day, kind of helping me figure out who was giving the chat out. So that's the real culprit of the problem, and I've fed that to the Crusaders captains, and they can do with that what they will. And since then, I've seen Bax be buddy with Pister again. I'm just like, okay, well, whatever that was, it's not happening again. So that whole thing's out the window.
All right.
I think the point is though, right? Like, it doesn't matter if somebody from Crusaders leaked in the chat. If they ask him to leave it, he should leave it. Like, grow the fuck up.
And it's
We're in
not
the fucking mid-30s.
It's not your
Jesus
squad
Christ.
chat. Yeah, that's
Every
simple.
fucking season with this shit.
Yep. 35-year-olds,
crazy.
man. I've said it every week.
It's literally insane.
Guy, this is a question for Eric. Had to go to work, but this question will be directed at Yosh. And Yosh, I want to tell you before I read this. This is not me talking. Okay, we clear?
Good.
Okay.
Yeah, we're good.
Yosh, I just want to know if you're playing a character or if you finally reached the point where you believe the bullshit you say. Every time I listen to USL Live, you're talking about some imaginary rivalry with the members of Warhawks. You claim Cats went into the season with excuses already in mind for when they lose, when in reality it was just a bunch of guys that wanted to keep playing together. In your world, everyone is out to get Sov and his snakes to the point that you have main character syndrome. There's no question in my mind that Sov's teams are a dominant force, but let's be real. Aside from Sov, Iron, and along with Champion and Nas when they show, everyone else is replaceable on that roster. And Yosh, if it wasn't for you being friendly with everyone there, you'd be starting on Nexus right next to DP and Romulocks. So chill out, bud.
Good stuff. Whoever sent the question, yeah, you got me, bud.
This must be an SV question. This is full of vitriol.
Yeah, would I be starting on Nexus? Who knows? Would I be playing? Probably not.
Yosh, I'll go ahead and tell you you'd start for Nexus. Okay? You're welcome anytime.
The only one that I would say is interchangeable, honestly, on ATW right now is maybe Eric. That's the only one I can think of right now.
Snap! Just lobbing grenades. You said, what was it? Was it Splittah that said a moment ago that I don't talk shit when people aren't here? Wasn't that?
He's here though. So,
He left.
Yosh said he went to work. How funny how that works.
He's here.
All right.
Eric's here.
Let me move on to the next question.
Plus, I'm just retaliating. He's going
All right. Can any of you guys explain ESO to me? Did learning that Sov blamed him for the championship game loss on top of being told he is washed out by members of his own squad finally break him? He used to be chill, but now every time I log in, he's either trolling or hiding on one of his 6 different aliases, even while his team is actively playing. And the only time he does play is when his team has a comfortable lead in order to talk shit. The guy still grumbles about season 20 deadliest award, whatever, 4 seasons later. He needs to listen to some of his own advice and either stay mad or get better.
When has ESO been chill?
Is there a question in there, or was that?
I don't even know what was the question.
I think this was just venting. Anybody have any thoughts about ISO and his?
I
mean,
He's been busy, dude.
I get on to watch Iso talk shit. Like, I love when he starts going. It's hilarious to me. Honestly, I told him that.
I definitely.
All I gotta say is, if you guys think Iso talks shit now, if Cats would have lost
Oh
that
my
match,
god!
holy shit, it would have been scorched earth. He'd still be talking right now.
I thought you were going to talk about ISO back in the day too. Jeez,
That's
he is
it.
so tame now.
Yeah, this is a tame version of him.
Yeah, extremely.
And yes, we are aware that Iso hides on a secret alias and watches all the matches and spec. Why he does that, I don't know. He did that on Beavers too. He says it's because he's on a laptop and not at home and he doesn't want to play. So I don't know why that means he can't join squad chat, but Iso doing Iso things.
ISO and I were talking about getting together and talking about the glory days of Skirmish League at some point. I love the dude. I don't know what's going on in terms of his time and ability to play the game, but whatever. To each their own. He definitely trolled Hungry Beavers harder than any man has ever trolled any squad. So it was legendary. Let's see here. I got some announcements. Does anybody have anything else before we wrap this?
Well, we're good.
Okay. Roster lock is now in place. Bowen, can you give us a brief explanation of how that applies and what are the rules of roster lock?
Yeah, so roster lock usually goes on about the halfway point of the season, which we just hit. So that means that you cannot leave the squad you were on, but new players can join. So that means if we start seeing, if I start seeing that rosters are getting capped out again, I will add more to the roster sizes to accommodate new players who can still join the league. You just cannot leave the squad once you're on.
Absolutely. So CTFers that were asking, you can still join the league, get in touch with the squad captains or co-captains, see if somebody can pick you up. I know Suicide Squad, I think, has 12 players. I don't know who would fit in with them exactly, but those guys probably do need one or two more guys. Let's see here. Match videos are now linked directly to game statistics on USLZone.com. Thanks to Champion for that. You can now easily watch the game videos by just clicking on the link available at the top middle of the page. And we're currently working to add links to backlog games where those videos are available. It's a very cool feature, and thank you to Champion and Ace for working to create that for us. Yeah, no final comments. So that will do it for USL Live and for the Season 24 Week 4 preview show. You can play Infantry for free. Download the game right now on Steam. Just type Free Infantry in the search bar or visit freeinfantry.com. If you're interested in league play, please check out USLZone.com. Sign up where you can view roster schedules and forums. Be sure to check out all our available videos, as we just said, on the Infantry Online YouTube page, built and maintained by military police. Feel free to relive the nostalgia anytime you want to by going back to watch past play from previous seasons. I'd like to thank my co-hosts for the show today. Again, a full boat. We had Mecca, Yosh, Splittah, Bowen, and Eric. Thank you to our executive producer, Military Police. This has been Romulocks, and you've been listening to USL Live.